Well, welcome back, everyone, to Everyone Has a Podcast. My name is Andy, and today my guest is Juan Cephas with Phit PD. Some of you might already know who Juan is or what Phit PD is from watching his show or seeing it produced here at the studio. But I specifically wanted to bring Juan in today to talk about having podcasts with a purpose. And so, Juan, thank you for coming in.
Andy, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I have to say right out the gate, I love your preparation for your podcast. You very selectively pick who you're going to have on the show. You have a very nice welcome for the person who's guesting, and you have very focused and intentional conversations. So how much time are you putting into preparing for that kind of experience?
Well, you know what, Andy, not knowing exactly what other people do, but I trust that, you've worked with so many other podcasters that you know what you're talking about. So not really knowing, I try to kind of rely on my military background, where if you show up on time, you're late. So I have that mindset where I'm always trying to be early. And by being early, I'm preparing. So I prepare a rough introduction. I go over it in my head a couple of times, but it's not set in stone. So then when I say it, it just comes out natural. At least I think it does. And I also just, I prepare by meeting with people, talking with people, seeing if they're interested, seeing if they're going to be a fit. And so I do a lot of the back work ahead of time. So I do invest time in that.
Yeah, when I think about your preparation and your delivery, and I think about your show, the word deliberate comes up. Like the word deliberate comes to mind. It seems very very deliberate. The way you even introduce the guests, the intensity for which you propose the topic and you ask the questions. A lot of times you're talking about personal experience of law enforcement officers. You're talking about wellness and the physical fitness and the physical requirements of being a good law enforcement officer. But also you're talking about their life story too. And there's like this blend. But I see that in you as a host as well, where like even just now you mentioned, maybe it's my military experience. Well, yeah, it's that, but also, going from the military and into law enforcement, I can see that pouring over into the preparedness and the professionalism you bring to the show as well. It's awesome.
Well, thank you, Andy. I appreciate that.
Yeah. And there are people who they're going to shoot from the hip all day long and it's going to be dope and fun and cool. But like you have a much more, again, deliberate and intentional kind of focus for your show. For those who don't know you, Juan, why don't you tell them a little bit about kind of your professional background so they understand what is Phit PD all about and why are you doing this?
Sure. All right. Well, I was a peace officer for almost 30 years, and I retired as a police sergeant. During that time period, I did a number of different assignments, everything from working on a beach team, on a bike team, gang unit, graffiti unit, working in Logan Heights, working in San Ysidro, working in Ocean Beach, Pacific Beach. And I loved being a peace officer. But because my background was so diverse, I got to know a lot of different cops from all over San Diego Police Department. And sometimes when we only work a limited amount of assignments, we don't get to know everyone. In addition to that, I also had a second job, which I still hold today, which is to be a instructor at the police academy. So I've been doing that job over 24 years. During that time, I've been teaching everything from Spanish for law enforcement, ethics, professionalism, cultural diversity, racial profiling, tactical communication, use of force, defensive tactics, physical fitness, gangs. And so, teaching those topics and speaking with large amount of recruits that are coming through the academy, I pretty much had exposure to everybody that's come through the academy in the last 24 years. And, you know, during this time period where I've been a peace officer and an instructor, I've gotten to know some amazing people. And I've built some great relationships. I thought that at some point, other people needed to know how important those relationships are as far as getting to know people, cops, as human beings. So when it came to putting together this podcast, I had two missions. Number one was to humanize police again. We are having about one cop being shot every single day in 2025 somewhere across America. And the disrespect for the profession is at an all-time high. What I wanted to do is, yes, recognize the fact that there are cops that do things wrong, but the majority of the peace officers that I've ever met are doing the job and they're doing it for the right reasons. And so I wanted to humanize cops again. Secondly, I want to ensure that the training that we provide peace officers exceeds the minimum standard. The minimum standard is not enough. And I'll give you an example. And in the state of California, peace officers are required to do defensive tactics training 4 hours every 2 years.
4 hours every 2 years?
Every 2 years. So, I mean,
that's a very small amount of time for a very long period of time.
Yeah. I mean, like, what's one of your hobbies, Andy?
Well, I was going to say jujitsu until you said 4 and 2, but I think that's my record recently is 4 hours in the last 2 years. Cheers, everybody. No, I love like working with horses and ranching and things like that.
All right. So how good are you going to be as a rancher
you do that,
if you only do it 4 hours every 2 years?
Yeah, terrible. Yeah,
no, you're going to kill the horse.
Yeah, you're going to. Everything's dying around you. Nothing's living. Yeah.
So with any profession.
Yeah.
Any hobby, if you're only doing it.
Wow. How do you even like justify? I'm not trying to question the agency, but like, how do you even justify that 4 hours is reasonable over a 2-year period of time?
Well, it's set by the state of California.
Okay, fine. State of California. How do you justify? That seems crazy.
Absolutely. And the thing is that each agency doesn't have to stick with the minimum standard because there's just minimum standards, but most agencies do. So when we use excessive force, when we are caught in the next viral video where force didn't look very good, is it because the person was a bad person, a bad cop, or is it because they're ill prepared? We're not getting the training that we deserve. And that the public deserves, more importantly. So that was the second part of my mission, is to raise the minimum standards. And in part of doing that, every time that a peace officer gets shot in the United States, I always send a update to the state governor, his office, and let him know that there's been a peace officer that's been shot. And if we raise the minimum training standards, we can not only keep peace officers safe, but also the community, and urge to have a discussion so we can raise the minimum standards. So that's pretty much my mission, Andy.
So how does podcasting fit into that, though? I mean, you're answering the question, okay, yes, I want to humanize peace officers again, but also you have this objective of trying to get minimum training standards risen. But how does the podcast serve both those outcomes from your perspective?
Well, I before podcasting, I was using social media, so like TikTok, Instagram, that kind of thing, to kind of get a message out there, which I was happy with, but I knew they needed to go to a different level. So in order to reach the masses and start having serious conversations with the professionals that I have met throughout my career, the only way to really capture that was through podcasting. And having people come in I've had former chiefs of police, current chiefs of police, as you know, come into the studio, and we've had discussions about police wellness, police training, policing in general, and just the lifestyles that sometimes police officers have as a result of the job, and some of the mental struggles that we have because of the job. And I feel that podcasting gave me that vessel to be able to reach the masses. And I feel thus far, I've had some pretty good conversations with people that are experts and professionals in law enforcement.
So do you feel like already kind of in the initial onset, I mean, so you're finished your first season, your second season starting to come out right now. So do you feel like you're moving the needle in the objective? How are you measuring that? So part of the reason I'm asking these questions is because, I talk to people often who are contemplating starting a podcast. They've been told, oh, you should start a show, or you have amazing stories. You should talk about this, that, the other thing. And I've also interviewed people here as a guest of other shows I've hosted where they do really cool stuff that the public would want to know about, like consumer protection rights and injury law and workers' comp and case law like that. And it's like, people want to know more about those kinds of things. So from my angle asking you this is, there has to be some a motive, right? But then like you're also having to decide, how do you know if it's working or not? So how do you know if it's working or not for you? How do you decide if your show is on the right track or not?
Well, that's a great question, Andy, because other than trying to use like the YouTube analytics to see if what people like, what they don't like, that kind of stuff, I'm kind of just right now going by word of mouth and getting feedback from the people that are close to me, that are watching. And these are people that I trust, that in the past have provided me with feedback, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Mm-hmm. And sound counsel. Yeah, on all sides.
I trust that they're going to tell me if I'm on the right track or not.
Okay.
And so
beyond the numbers and all.
Beyond the numbers.
Yeah.
Beyond the numbers. So I have a group core of about a dozen people, and I'm sticking with that for now. But I'm also in that core group. I'm also including people that have their own podcast as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to hear from them. And so far, it's been working pretty good because I feel pretty good about season 2.
Oh, yeah.
I feel better about season 2 than I did about 1, and 1 was excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you already came out of the gate firing, man. Like your episodes, the guests you had on, the stories they were telling. But again, also you weaving in like the importance of the physical element of being trained and being ready in non-lethal methods of enforcing law. It's kind of like integrating with this whole sector of podcasting of like true crime and all. Like there's so much. I didn't know how wildly popular it was till this year, till 2025. Really, it was. Oh, I didn't know true crime was like right up there at the top of like what people were consuming, like in droves. And
it's amazing, right?
Yeah, and so even though you're not sitting around trying to tell a bunch of like crime stories, you're kind of woven into that same fabric of like, well, they originate from these interactions with police and you going on calls and that kind of thing. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, season 2, you have, I mean, even some more astonishing stories than season 1 even, which is kind of crazy. I mean, the first guest you brought in here was like shot in the head at like point blank range, and like and he's living, and now he's like speaking and telling his story. I was sitting back behind the camera, I was like, wait, what is happening right now? This is this is crazy. All right, you have a council of people who are giving you feedback and input. You're confident about your show and in the way it's going now. What were some of the things that made you hesitate starting? Because you mentioned, I was doing social media, and you were already doing some sort of content creation to kind of talk about the topic.
Right.
But what was in the way of you just crossing that line and going, you know what, I'm going to start a show?
Well, Andy, you know what? First of all, I didn't know a lot about podcasting. So the unknown, um, there's a fear factor to it. And so, and when I mean fear is like, just hesitation, not knowing exactly how to do something and looking foolish if I do decide to step in. So that was part of it. In addition to that, I didn't know if the content was going to be something that people were interested in. I mean, I love having these discussions in my classrooms. As I teach, I will have guests in my classrooms. Things will come up, current events, and we talk about a lot of the topics that are coming up in the podcast. And the students love it. I didn't know how to transfer those rich conversations into a podcast. But at some point, I thought, you know what? I think it can be done. And I had a couple of conversations with former students that actually encouraged me during those conversations to, you know what, go ahead and do it. A lot of these former students were a little bit younger, well, a lot younger than me, but, younger people. And so they feel confident about podcasts, and they were in my classroom. They experienced the way that I teach and how I bring my message across. And they thought, you know what, if you do what you do in the classroom in front of the camera, you'll have success. Mm-hmm. So having those conversations really helped me in just jumping off the cliff.
I guess I'm going to say this in different words, but you're kind of like, you're taking that as like wind in your sails, as like evidence that it's going to work despite whatever reservations or uncertainties you were having.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I come across that a lot, and that's why I was asking the questions, because I want other people that are watching this to know, like, hey, you're not alone. Other people feel the same way.
Right.
Everyone has their first day on camera, and then everyone has their second, their third, and then their 20th and 50th, and then it becomes a lot more natural. But there are people, there's a lot of uncertainty, and sometimes it has to do with our own personal hesitations. Sometimes it has to do with our professional alignment. I talked to someone recently who has a great side business that it could be a booming full business, but is also currently employed at a place where she can't talk about that business,
right,
while also being employed at this one who has clients in that same industry. So there's this like wedge, and I'm like, she's like, I think I'm gonna have to quit before I do my show. I was like, in this case, probably.
Okay.
Because it's one of those things. It's
conflict of interest.
Yes, it's conflict of interest, and it's also, when you aren't held to like compliance standards, you can say things you can't when you have to fall into compliance standards.
Correct.
So if you're like in the wellness space and you do wellness tracking and measurements and surveys and all these kinds of things, but you work at a company whose clientele are pharmaceutical businesses that have very regimented rules and all those, there's some conflicts there that you can't go do over here and then come and get paid for 40 hours a week work over here. Still, you pick
right.
one. So there's a variety of people who are thinking about making shows or starting shows, but have hesitation and think, I'm not sure. What am I going to even talk about? Well, I don't know. You've been in business 20 years. What have you talked about for 20 years?
Sure. Yeah.
To your students' point, like, hey, talk about what you talk about in class. That's what people want to know about. And unless you're in the class, you're not going to hear it. But now that you're doing it in this format, you can be outside the classroom and also hear it. I think that's useful.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
A couple other things also occurred. Not only did I have these conversations with people, and but I actually attended a meeting, the business meeting where I met you.
Yeah.
And
that was just in May. That was only a couple short months ago.
It wasn't that long ago. I mean, well, the podcast hasn't been. It's just barely gone over 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah. But here we are. And so, when I met you, I'm already thinking about moving into a podcast, and you gave this presentation about the very same topic. You talked about, what are you doing in social media? If you have good following in social media, what's the next natural step? And you talked about podcasting. And I'm like, you know what? This can't be a coincidence. This can't be a coincidence. I mean, we've talked about coincidences before.
Yeah.
And so, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, so if it's not a coincidence, what is it? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
Same time, I was and still am taking courses through Harvard.
Mm-hmm.
And so the courses that I'm taking are wellness courses. And, a lot of what I was learning, I'm talking with cops about their mental well-being. And all of this just comes together. All these conversations with former recruits, meeting you, doing my work, my postgraduate work with Harvard. And I'm just like, this is cultivating something. And it feels right. So I'm just going to do the podcast.
Well, I would love to talk about a little bit of the fruits of the labor for a minute, if you don't mind. Let's talk about some of what's happened that's been good and been a positive outcome as a result of doing this. So can you share with the people some of the things that have happened that maybe you were expecting and they became real, or that you weren't expecting that you were surprised by that have happened in a good way?
I think I understood your question. So some of the things that came out of just this work.
Yeah, like diving in and starting a podcast. What are some of the positive outcomes that have happened so far?
Well, the most important outcome is the fact that I reestablished some very important friendships with people that I've met throughout the years. I mean, sometimes, you're just pushing like on social media, but we haven't seen each other for a long time. But now I reestablished communication with friendships that I've had for over 20 years.
Wow.
And that is priceless, right? So very happy about that. During the work, meeting other people, getting feedback from subscribers, getting feedback from just the general public, and having conversations, sitting down with people, hey, let's have lunch, let's talk about this, let's talk about that. A lot of positive things have come about. And, you've been great at helping me get all these things launched off the ground. So, for instance, some of the subscribers were talking about, hey, you need a song. Furthest thing from my mind. Putting a song together.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? In the past, I enjoyed putting lyrics together. I'm not a singer, but, I put some lyrics together, had a family friend put together some music, put together the whole song. And next thing you know, we have a song for the podcast.
Your intro is awesome. You told me hey, so I got this guy. He's making me an intro song, and it's it's gonna be mine. It's fully licensed. It's ours. We can use it however we want, and we don't have a show intro somehow. And so we kind of brainstormed and put our minds together and came up with this concept where we can pull these sound bites from later in the episode or throughout the episode, throw them at the front with the song, and it works. I love it. It's one of my favorite intros.
Well, you know what? Like I said, you helped me with this because you're like, hey, you know what? Let me work on something and I'll get back to you.
Let me show you something.
Yeah. So you came back with the teaser, right?
Yeah.
And the sound bites, putting it all together.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I love it. This is great.
Yeah.
And then we just talked about a little bit about refining the look of it.
Yeah.
And then we refined that, and that was it.
Boom, there it is.
That was it.
The little formula, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that.
That's a good outcome.
Something else that was also a positive outcome was, we ended up putting together, having one of our guests who is a ordained minister. I don't even want to go into his resume because it just makes everybody embarrassed. He's got a doctorate. He's got black belts in this, black belts in that.
Yeah.
He worked for feds. Anyway, great guy. And not to mention he was a professional CrossFit athlete
Yeah.
and founding athlete of CrossFit. So, yeah.
These guys had just accolades.
Yeah. So I asked Greg, hey, would you be willing to put together a prayer for officers as they go into their shifts or coming off their shifts, working in their shifts? There are such prayers, and I just want to have it on the show to end the show, just to wish everybody to be safe and get home at the end of their shift. And again, I worked with you on that.
Yeah.
Greg sent us something,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's a great addition because it's something that we talk about in law enforcement as far as making sure everybody gets home, and the prayer just brings it to a different level.
It's a great feature. I love it. And, it's also been fun on the creative side of it, like having these ideas come up and then go, okay, well, how do we work that in? Da, da, da. And then like now what season 2 looks like is like season 1, but like it's got the upgrade,
Yeah.
Oh, let's add this, let's change that. And I love it. It's enjoyable to make and do. A credit to Caitlin as well, who's editing all of our long form shows. Like that's been also something gratifying for me is the more we've grown and we've had more people come in and do shows, the variety of conversations and the way that our delivery on the back end has changed, has also grown and matured her as an editor as well, and she's doing a great job. So shout out to Caitlin real quick.
Yeah, no, absolutely. She's been great.
Yeah.
I mean, she always gives great positive feedback on things and is always asking questions that make me think, did she like that or didn't she like that?
She cares about people liking what they make.
And it's obvious.
Yeah, that's something that, I think that just kind of runs through the veins of our organization is like, we want people to love what they're doing and be confident in it as well, because there's a purpose to it. And then that's the other reason why, even wanting to talk with you, I know there's a defined purpose for what you're doing, and it comes with some wins, some positive things that happen, but also comes with some trials sometimes, some struggles. Are you willing to talk about, how you handle people who might toss criticism at you or throw shade or try to maybe, criticize or correct what you've shared online and what you're posting?
Sure.
How do you handle that?
Sure. You know what? I to tell you the truth, I ignore people. I believe that as we get older, we should definitely define what our purpose is, find our purpose. And once you find your purpose, no one can derail you with words or some small actions. So I ignore the negativity. I focus on the positivity. So the people that are in my corner, people that are constantly trying to raise me up, I'm going to listen to those people, and I'm also going to reciprocate. I ignore.
But glad I'm by.
You know what? It's like, you go to spar with somebody. It's never personal. If they beat you, good. When it's over, it's over. If you beat them, good. When it's over, it's over. But you don't dwell, and you just ignore it. You just get better. Fighting
is a great equalizer, isn't it?
It is.
You're gonna get beat sometimes, and sometimes you're gonna do the beating.
It's humbling. It's humbling. It's humbling.
So how has, man, maybe I don't even know that you have an answer for this. How has podcasting changed you? Have you noticed anything different since you started this journey?
Great question, Andy, because I'm not sure I know the answer to that. The only thing that comes to mind is that I'm more focused. So, I mentioned purpose earlier. I think that when you talk about purpose, right below purpose, you should know what your values are. My top 3 values, right? And one of them is to give back to the community. I feel that this podcast is helping me do that, give back to the community. And so when you know what your top 3 values are, your daily actions should align with those top 3 values. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing as long as they align with those top 3 values. So I feel focused in that the things I choose to do, a lot of them are going to support my value of giving back. And the podcast has helped me to do that.
What's one of the, I know, once in a while you have Ashley on the show with you as well.
Yeah.
I have talked to people who occasionally ask me, hey, should I do a solo show? Should I have guests? How many guests should I have? Should I have a co-host? Because sometimes, for example, I'll be talking to someone who is in like the legal field, and it's like them and another associate. And they're like, well, do we both do every conversation, or does one of us do these, and do we trade off? How did you and Ashley strike a balance between, your lead clearly, but then also her involvement?
Well, you know what? Initially, what happened with Ashley and I was we both wanted to be together, host and co-host. There were a lot of things going on in both our lives, and we couldn't do all the shows. So what ended up happening is she did like maybe 2 shows and wasn't available for all the other shows. So I kind of just started brainstorming, and I started talking to other people about their opinion. Spoke with Ashley. I mentioned it to you. And out of all these conversations, what I thought would work out best is to use Ashley for her expertise. She's got a lot of expertise, but one of her main expertise is that she has her own defensive tactics program. She's a professional fighter. She was a cop. So she has a lot of experience. And so if we're going to be talking about use of force, I wanted to bring her in when she was available for some of these use of force conversations. So we had one of the trainers for the feds come in, Oscar, and we had a great conversation. I love that episode. It was a really good episode. So from that, because Ashley's not available all the time, we decided, hey, you know what, moving forward, I'm just going to have her come in when we have use of force experts come in, and she can share her expertise. Yeah. The other person can share theirs. And, if it's anything like the Oscar episode, I'm going to love it because it was great.
It was awesome. The conversation just like flowed the whole time.
Right.
It was chock full of stories, of course, but also just that expert level input.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason I'm asking that question again is because there's people they're considering maybe doing a podcast but they have someone they work with, a partner, but there may not be like an equal, like 50-50, like we're going to do this together all the time kind of thing. But that there is a way to make it work still for your brand and for your conversations. And the other thing too, is I want people to remember, like, there is no like preset formula for how this has to look for you. You may be in a field that's the show's not going to look the same way as Juan's is or mine or anybody else's. It's going to be uniquely your own thing. And that's okay. I think some people are, because of the uncertainty of never doing it, they go, okay, cool. What's the playbook? Like, turn on cameras, turn on mics, and start talking. That's the playbook, right? Well, what about this? And what about that? Should I have this? I don't know if you should or not. We don't even know. We don't even know yet. So there's this, I got asked this question the other day. Like, so should our show intro be this or that? I'm like, I don't know. They're like, well, but you're the expert. I'm like, yeah, but it's your show. Like, what do you want it to look like? We can make either one. It's not about should be this or should be that. It's like, what do you want it to be? What do you want your user experience to be? Your audience member experience to be? And so, I just want it to be known that people can make it look kind of however they want. That's suitable for the audience. That will also make you proud of what you're making.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you've done that really well.
I think if we're talking about introductions, it's progressed.
Yeah.
And for anybody thinking about doing a podcast, introduction is really important.
Yeah.
And just make it yours.
Yeah.
Make it short.
Yeah.
And get to the point of the focus of your podcast.
Yeah. So Juan, what do you want to tell people that, they're going to start their podcast in 2026 or 2027? Like, what would your word of encouragement be to them? You're an instructor, you're teaching, you're teaching people constantly. What would your sage wisdom tell them today?
Ooh, I would say, sit down and map it out. Figure out what's your purpose. What are like your main learning points, your mission. Once you know that, make a list of potential guests and your wish guests. Make that list. Once you figure out what that looks like, everything else is going to fall in line. It seems, looking back, like adding a song, adding a prayer, all that is it just happened.
Yeah.
But the meat and potatoes, knowing the mission, knowing the objectives, having that list of guests that reassured me that I did have enough content, that I did know enough people, just got me ready. And that wish list, you can start working on that now. And maybe 6 months from now, one of those people will appear on your show. But that wish list is important because it'll keep you focused on your mission. That's why you want that special guest.
Good. That's great. That's great advice. There's a trend happening in podcast space where it's like my term is guest chasing. I was just chasing the next big guest, and then that's going to blow your channel up. But there's an element of that I don't fully trust yet, and it's not out of trying to be disagreeable. It's because I think it's the Groupon effect. Groupon is great when it's at your location today, but then when the Groupon's at the competitor location tomorrow, you lose all that business because people are chasing the Groupon, not chasing your brand affinity. And so while I understand guest chasing to get the bigger guests with the larger following and the bigger conversation, I understand that part, and that can work to blow up some smaller channels. But again, if it doesn't align with your main purpose, then it's a distraction. And I want to remind people of that. I think that too much of our social space, and even in podcasting, has become, well, how many followers do you have? What's your conversion? It's like, yeah, those things, they matter to a point of what your purpose is. And if it's without purpose, then anything's going to go. And if it is with purpose and you have something you're measuring, then you can define those success metrics for yourself or not. But just don't go chasing guests. Don't just go chasing followers. I think that's bad advice. No one should be telling you that. And if they are telling you that, you found the wrong place. You've effectively found the wrong place. It's not about chasing followers. So, and that's even part of this conversation is I want to provide useful feedback beyond me telling it to people from people who are doing it themselves. So you as a host, normally you're in this chair. You can sit in the guest chair today. Yeah. I want people to hear from hosts themselves, like directly from the horse's mouth, as they say. What is it like? What should I be thinking of? What should I do? What should I expect? All that kind of stuff. So thank you for helping me craft that conversation today.
Of course.
Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to add about people starting a podcast, having a podcast, being seen in public and people knowing who you are outside the academy now? Not just your cadets anymore, man.
Yeah, well, it's mostly cadets. They, and I know because they're like, good morning, sir.
Yeah. They go, someone's around here.
Where's my dad?
Who's sir? Yeah.
Yeah, but so that's kind of funny. But let me think. Finding the right support.
Talk about that. What do you mean?
And it's multifaceted. Let's start with family. Everybody's going to have a different support system at home, so it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship or if you're single, you have children. You got to make sure that they understand that you're committing to something. Let them know what it is. Let them know the hours, uncertainty of possible days, but have them buy in. So that way they don't feel like this was forced upon them. So communication is very important. communication with your significant other, your children, your immediate circle. I think that's very important. So you need that support. If we're talking about support, you also want to make sure you check out different studios, because a studio is not just a studio. And I checked out several different studios, and as you know, I work with you, Andy, but also I work with somebody else. That secondary location is in case you're not available. And so, the people there are also great people. And
I've started calling them our sister studio.
The sister studio?
I call them, Kevin is a good friend of mine, so I call him my sister studio.
Sister studio. I like it. And Kevin is a great individual. But you got to check out different locations, get a feel for it, get a good understanding of what's happening there and what it is that you're going to get as a product. If you just jump in and you have no idea what that particular studio is going to provide you, you might be in for unwanted surprises. And so, being prepared. So do your homework when it comes to that.
Understand what you're getting back.
Yes, what you're getting yourself into. Understand what all an engineer can provide you with. The studio, what all do you need? And there's a lot of stuff that you don't know that you need.
I was at a place recently where another friend of mine had rented a space that's just an open space.
Sure.
We took everything, like the lights, everything left here to go there. I was like, oh man, we're taking everything. So basically we're renting a room. We're not renting a room. We're renting a room. We had to bring literally everything else, man.
Wow.
Our extension cords, like everything, everything. I brought everything except for the roof and this rug.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to do that. You got to do that background work. In addition to that, you also have to make sure that however you're going to fund it or whatever your mission is long term, you got to have a clear understanding of that and be well prepared. And it's all about preparedness. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Do your homework with the studio, talk to your family, make sure your finances are in order. And once you do the background, jumping in should not be as difficult.
Yeah, I think it's one of the things I just want to, again, compliment you on is your preparedness and your thoroughness. I know it's required of you in your professional role, but the fact that it is on that side of life that you bring over to this side of life makes everything very easy to do because even the things we have to work on together, they're very focused, they're pre-thought. You're not trying to force our hand on anything. I don't feel like we're trying to force your hand to anything either. It's like, well, we're working together on this thing for a defined outcome. So I really, really respect your preparation. And I tell people all the time, like 90% of your show is done before we even start. This is just the carrying out part. This is just the carrying out part of it. Yeah. The preparation of knowing where you're going to go, when's it going to be, who's your guest, what are you going to ask them, how are you going to be able to maneuver if the conversation goes this way versus that way, not in a controlling way, but just in a flexibility and in a productive way. But that preparation matters. Some people think that because they're good shooting from the hip for 60 seconds in a sales conversation, that you can hold an hour-long conversation, and those are not the same skill sets.
Different.
At all. Those are not the same skill sets at all.
Very different.
I guess that this is probably, I'm having an epiphany. It should not surprise me at all that you are good at asking people questions. You've done it for most of your career when you arrest them. Just kidding. You weren't an interrogator most of your life, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Where were you the night of January 3rd at 8 p.m.?
So you say.
Yeah. Earlier you mentioned, he was listening.
He was taking notes.
He's taking notes. Oh, man. Juan, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your experience in podcasting, some of the the things that were maybe in the way of getting started. But again, congratulations on getting started and being successful in this space. We're having a number of these kinds of conversations so people can get started and people can really get what their mission is and their purpose out and get some momentum behind it. Because I think we need more positive voices in this space too. There are a lot of them, but there are certainly some ineffective shows that are just out and they're very popular, but they're doing nothing. Maybe they are entertaining for the viewers, and that's fine. But I really respect your show and other shows that we have here that are achieving an objective and a purpose that has an defined outcome.
Right.
And I really hope that we play a part in seeing those I'm going to say rules change. So those standards get raised so we can have safer streets for our law enforcement officers and for the population at large.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope so too, Andy.
Yeah. Keep sending those emails, man. Keep sending those emails.
Hey, well, thank you for having me, Andy.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
This has been great. Thank you all for watching this episode of Everyone Has a Podcast. If you have never heard of Phit PD and Juan Cephas podcast, you'll be able to watch it by clicking the link in the description box below. And if there's any questions you have about podcasting, of course, you can ask me. But I'm sure if it has anything to do with what Juan was talking about, I'm sure he would be willing to help teach you as well because he's a professional trainer. Let's admit it. Juan, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much. And we'll see you again next time. Bye.